Welcome to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out the Star 500 from Catifo. This is a dual transmitter to single receiver UHF wireless pack designed for filmmaking and content creation. One of the big advantages that this has over a lot of other packs is that we get a couple of TF card slots on both transmitters, which allow you to record internally and get a sense of redundancy, which can be really important depending on your shooting scenario. This allows you to get a backup safely to a card that you can then put onto your computer as a last resort. Now, this can come in really handy, especially if you're recording in a situation where you might lose transmission at a distance. Now, what we're going to do in this video is test out all the regular things I always do with wireless packs. So we'll do a distance test, we'll test the recording quality of the cards, etc., and we'll get into that in this video. Before we get into it, a massive thank you to the kind folks at Catifo for sending this out for the review. I really appreciate it. If you're looking for a wireless pack, I've reviewed so many here on the channel. I'll link to the full playlist up in the cards. And if you want to check out this, I'll link it down in the description below. Here we go. And rather than make you wait to hear this, what I'm going to do is a quick unboxing, but all of the audio that you're about to hear was recorded using the Catifo pack at home, and I'll put all of this together in post. It'll be controlled studio conditions, and then we'll try it out here in the park. While I do this unboxing, you're currently listening to the audio being recorded internally on the transmitter, thanks to that micro SD card slot. We get this really great case. Now, this isn't a charging case, it's just for transportation and organization. In the box, we get an instruction manual and warranty card. We get two lavalier microphones and everything we need to get going. We get two 3.5mm audio cables. The first is for mirrorless cameras. It's the TRS cable to TRS cable. The second is a TRRS cable to TRS. That's designed for phones that support that plug. Rather than providing three charging cables, we get one, which is a USB-A to 3 USB Type-C cable. Catifo also included two windsocks. These just clip directly into the transmitters when you're using the onboard microphone. If you plan on using the lav mics, great news, we get clips to help manage all of the cables. Let's take a look at the receiver up close. Now, the receiver has its very own backlit LCD screen. It's color as well, and it's very easy to see even on a bright sunny day. On the top of the unit, we get two audio outputs. The first is designed just to go out into your mirrorless camera. The second headphone output is for real-time audio monitoring. The power button is on the opposite side. On this side of the receiver, we get our USB charging port. We also get a plus and minus button to help navigate the menus. On the opposite side of the receiver, we get our set option, which helps you confirm each of our options when you're cycling through the menu. The transmitter also has its very own color backlit LCD screen. On the top of the unit, there's a power button. If you double tap the power button quickly, it starts recording, provided you install a TF card or micro SD. In the center, we have our omnidirectional built-in microphone. We also get the inclusion of a microphone input for use with one of those lavalier mics. This side of the transmitter is identical to the receiver. It helps us navigate the menu, and our charging port is down the bottom. The micro SD card port is on this side of the transmitter, and this will work with micro SDs up to 32 gigabytes. So don't go wasting money on a 64, 32 is its maximum. And we also get our menu set button. While these are slightly larger than that of the Saramonic Blink 500 Pro, they're nice and light, coming in at only 45 grams. We get 8 hours of battery life on the transmitters and 7 hours on the receiver on a single charge. Let's do a quick audio comparison now between the Blink 500 Pro, which has been my favorite go-to wireless pack since starting this particular channel. It just sounds great, so I can't wait to see if the Catifo actually holds its own in terms of audio quality. Let's switch it over. And now you're listening to the Catifo Star 500 wireless pack. I've got it in exactly the same position, hopefully, as the last pack, the Blink 500 Pro. Can you hear a huge difference between them? I'm not going to add any post-processing to this other than maybe adjust the levels on either to have them sound comparable in terms of their output gain. But this was a really easy process to set up. I turned them both on. They were ready to go. I just adjusted the output volume to the camera, and that was it. Nice and simple, and I'll run you through the menus in just a moment. But before we do that, let's switch it back to the Saramonic. And back to the Saramonic Blink 500 Pro. Now, shooting outdoors, there's always variables like wind and background noise, all that kind of stuff, but this should give you a clear indication of just how good the Catifo sounds up against the Saramonic Blink 500 Pro. Let's switch it back. And now we're back to the Catifo Star 500 UHF wireless pack. Now, I'll be using this for the rest of the video on all of the other tests, but I always like to throw in a comparison because I really feel it's helpful. If you're saving a few bucks in one area, does that translate over to audio quality? And you can be the judge of that. And I'll comment on all of this at the end of the video. And lastly, one of the benefits to an omnidirectional microphone is it means it picks up sound from all around it. So if you're in an interview situation like this, you can use one of these as a handheld microphone and move it between two people, or just hold it in the middle and it's still going to work. Now, it's going to sound far better, at least if you're on your own, with it closer to your mouth, of course, but you can use these in an interview situation. Let's do the all-important distance test. Now, it's really windy. I've got the camera down on a rock right now instead of the tripod, because last time I did a test like this about 6 months ago or so now, the camera actually fell, broke off the selfie screen, and it sucked. So I'm low to the ground for this particular test. Take note of how well it works when I turn around and talk. If it cuts out, I'll leave some annotations on screen, and also take note of how long it takes to recover. Now, while this does have a rated distance of 125 meters, I'm not going to go back that far. Not a chance. There's nothing like leaving, a few $1,000s worth of camera equipment just sitting there. So what I'm going to do is just back to about here, do the first turnaround and talk test. Not it cuts out or does anything funny. I would assume at that distance it won't cut out, but I've been before. Again, annotations will be on screen. Anything weird happens. There's some ducks over here, which is pretty cool. And in here, this park is awesome. I actually saw something that we're not supposed to have in the wild, which is interesting. Anyway, let's do a turnaround test at about double the distance. While this works at this distance, back a little further over here as well. And then what I'm going to do is start my walk and talk test. So this is supposed to be a typical walk and talk test if you're addressing the camera in this particular fashion, or if you've got someone else joining you in the conversation. Now, the beauty of this pack is it can run in mono and stereo. This also opens opportunities for both live streaming and post-production if you need to really isolate each person's audio and correct volume. So there's a lot to like about this pack. And if the audio quality and signal transmission reliability is good, then you might not even need one of those TF cards inserted into the transmitter for recording. But again, it only takes one thing to go wrong where that can save your shoot altogether. So yeah, backup, redundancy, all that stuff is always a good thing. I'm just going to interrupt this video and let you know that what you just heard on that distance test was the pack cutting out. That's right, at a distance of even 15 meters, you could hear the static noise kick in and the signal drop. Now, I haven't heard the fidelity of this onboard microphone yet, but that doesn't fill me with confidence whatsoever. Now, you'll get different results indoors as you would outdoors, but at a distance of 15 meters, when these are rated up to 125, it's not the best. I'll talk more about this later. Let's do a quick vlogging test using the Catifo Star 500 wireless pack. I've got the cat or the windsock attached to the microphone built onto the transmitter. It's quite windy now as well, so we're going to see just how well this works. I always say the biggest advantage to a wireless pack is I can turn the camera wherever I like, and my audio is still going to be front and center, which is always a bonus over a shotgun mic. Let's cover some of the specs and what you need to know about the Catifo Star 500 wireless pack. Now, this is a UHF pack. It's rated up to 125 meters line of sight, which we've already proven isn't actually accurate. Now, this is I had to film this particular section because I tried filming just before and no audio got recorded to my camera. So I have a hard time recommending this in terms of its actual distance. I would say it's more like 12.5 meters, at least with reliable signal transmission. All right, let me get you up to speed about what's been going on. So yesterday I had to shoot each part twice to try to get the audio to work properly, and I had nothing but problems. It seems like the first transmitter that I used had a lot of problems. It was unusable at a distance of 1.2 meters or more away from the camera. It would sometimes work, other times it wouldn't work, and I had big sections of the video that just had no audio whatsoever. Let's take a look. I mentioned at the start, this is a USB. After speaking with the folks at Catifo via email, they said if it had been dropped in shipping, sometimes the battery internally could fall and cover up the antenna, which would block the transmission. Now, I kind of get that. It doesn't fill me with confidence, but at least it's an answer to that. So I'm using the other transmitter right now. If this doesn't work properly, then the receiver's got a problem, right? So it could go either way. I'm not too sure, but let's give this a shot. Another thing to note, I said there's no way this works up to 120 meters. And I was basically told it works up to 20 meters reliably. So this is maybe 8 meters from the camera. I'm going to turn around and talk. It's out, and if it does, again, I'll leave annotations on screen. And we're going to go back just a few more steps, because while I would like to hope this works at a distance of about 15 meters or so away from the camera, I don't know if it will. I'm going to turn around and talk or does anything strange. Also listen for any static noise. If you hear that, to me, that's unusable as well. So I'm just going to do the walk and talk back to the camera now, continually rambling on just to give you an audio sample, that you can use to see whether or not this is good enough to use for your particular application. But after yesterday, this pack doesn't fill me with confidence. All right, let's wrap this video up. I'm gonna give you my final thoughts about the Katifo Star 500 wireless pack. So mine clearly either had major issues or they're just not built very well. It could come down to either an issue internally or they just don't work great. So check out as many videos as you can. Now, the second transmitter seemed to work better than the first. I had to shoot some sections 3 or 4 times to get some sort of audio that worked. I've tried shooting the specs so many times and I'm not gonna do it again. I can't do it again. Every time I do, the audio cuts out. So I'm done. And this should work now, but I'm just gonna wrap this video up. So let's put this into context. If this pack had have worked properly and I didn't have any issues with signal transmission or issues with glitchy audio, I would have praised this pack at its price. It would have ticked a lot of boxes for a lot of people. I think the onboard microphone sounds good when the transmission works, and this provided lav mic that you're listening to right now also sounds very good. If you're in close proximity to your camera and you're only shooting indoors, you can get some use out of it, but outdoors, it's super unreliable. Even in a vlogging test, it can glitch, which I don't understand. Now, if one of those transmitters had been faulty and the other one worked 100% of the time, I would have known, okay, so it's just a bad transmitter. But I still had issues even with the second transmitter, which means either they're both faulty or the receiver's got an issue, and that could go either way. So I don't really know. It's a hard pack to recommend based on my user experience with it. I recently reviewed the Sonicake pack, which comes in a lot cheaper. You only get one transmitter, but it works infinitely better and the audio quality is exceptional. So I wouldn't recommend this. I wouldn't use this for my own work, but again, if you watch other videos and they've had success with it, it means my pack is faulty, so keep that in mind. I'm only going by what I've had hands-on experience with, not what everybody else has had hands-on experience with, and that's why you come to my channel for honest reviews and feedback about products and my use case, all that kind of stuff. So indoors, you can get some use out of it, but I even did about an 8-meter walk in my dining room and it started to crackle a little bit then, and I thought, it's doing it indoors. But like this, I've shot this already 3 times. It's worked okay in this type of situation, but if you want to check out the specs, I'll link them down below. You can check them out in your part of the world. Thanks again to Katifo for sending this pack out, and I will catch you on the next video. See ya.